again, because that seems to be a subject that everybody has trouble with, and I'll just be honest, guys, opening leads are a crapshoot. There are guidelines, some people say rules, but they're just guidelines. Sometimes the only lead that beats a contract is one that nobody should ever make, because it's just counter to all the rules that are out there, but it's the only one that beats the contract. Sometimes that happens. It just does. What I'm about to tell you and that we'll talk about are just the general guidelines for opening leads. And I know you've all heard them before, so I'm going to have you tell them to me. Let's start with the best opening lead. What's the number one best opening lead in bridge? The suit your partner bid. Yes. Partner suit. Okay. You probably,
The other team
Now,
has
should
the-
that be the highest?
I'm getting to that. Give me just a minute. One of the most frequent questions I get is, well, which card should I lead? I have 3 of them. Which card should I lead? I'm supposed to lead the highest one, aren't I? Sometimes. Sometimes not. How's that for a nice clear answer?
Sometimes.
It depends on whether or not you supported your partner. If you supported your partner knows you have at least 3, right? So lead the highest one you have in that case. If you did not support your partner, lead a card that gives count. In other words, if you have an odd number, lead them up the line. Start with your lowest one. If you have an even number, play high-low. Is that thoroughly confusing?
Yes.
Okay. If you supported your partner, doesn't partner know that you have 3? Okay. He knows you have 3.
At least.
So you can play the highest one you have.
You got it your partner's way.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, say you've got the queen or you've got the king. Do you think it's helpful for partner to know that? Sure it is. Yeah. Because after all, you can support partner with a 3, 4, and 5, can't you? Sometimes you do, and that's what partner has. As a declarer, I can tell you that's a little disappointing. But it's still a totally legitimate bid. So, if you have supported, leave the highest one you have. If you have not, lead to give your partner count, so he will know how many of his high cards will cash, assuming you're in a trump suit. And if you're in no trump, he needs to know how many cards in the suit that the declarer has, doesn't he? It's helpful. So remember how we lead to give count? Up the line with an odd number, high-low with an even number. And high doesn't have to be a 9 or a 10. If you have 4 of them, and they're 10, 9, 4, 2, you can lead the 4. You can. It's harder for a partner to figure out, but you can lead the 4, or you can lead the 9 and then play the 2. Does that make sense?
So,
Or the
one
10.
more time.
Odd number?
If an odd number, you play low and go up the line. All right, here's a hold'em. Okay, you have this in your partner suit. First scenario, you did not support partner. Which one of these are you going to lead?
3.
The 3. Scenario number 2, you did support partner. Which one are you going to lead?
Queen.
Queen. It doesn't matter that you play a low one after that because he knows you have 3. He's not going to think you have 2. See the difference? Makes sense if you think about it for a minute. When you first hear it, it's kind of confusing. But if you think about it, it'll make sense. Okay. What's the next best lead? Say your partner just bid the green card, like mine did. Now what are we going to lead? Top of the sequence, okay. Say we're in no trump. How many cards need to be in that sequence? 3. Top of a 3-card sequence. Top of 3-card sequence. And if it's a suit contract, how many do we need to have? Just 2. Why is that? Third round against a suit contract often gets trumped, doesn't it? So it's okay to start off with just a two-card sequence when it's a suit contract.
But
Now
must they be sequential?
Pardon me?
Must they be like king, queen, or queen, jack?
Yes, that's what the definition of a sequence is. So, now, there are different types of sequences, but they all have one thing in common, and that's the first two cards are touching. So there's a perfect sequence, like the king, queen, jack. That's a perfect sequence, great lead against no trump, isn't it? You know you can set up at least two tricks for your side. And by the way, have more than three cards in the suit that you lead. Ideally, you have another one, and really ideally, you have a fifth one. But we don't always get what we like. So, have at least four, though, when you lead it. Now then, there's also this kind of sequence. What's that called? Broken sequence. Notice the gap is between honor number 2 and honor number 3. This is not a broken sequence. Does not mean that you can lead the king here. In fact, that would be like giving away tricks to do that. So, king, queen, 10 is a broken sequence. Now, who knows what this sequence is called?
Intermediate or
Who said interior?
interior, that,
Interior, that's what it is. This is an interior sequence. Notice it only has two cards, but they are touching. These are really hard for your partner to read. He assumes the jack is the top card you have. And as declarer, I've been fooled more than once by a defender who led this kind of card, only he had it was a no trump contract. He had the ace there. And the king was on the board, and I just knew that his opponent had the ace and was going to swoop down on my king, and I never played it. And as a result, I went off a trick, because I never got a trick with that king. Sometimes in no trump contracts, the ace is with the opening leader, and you just can't see it. But this is called an interior sequence, and there are only two of them. And you lead, notice you leave the top of every one of these, the top card. When you're on lead, play the top of touching honors. Okay, let's say you don't have a sequence, a 3-card or a 2-card. What's your next best lead?
Singleton. Fourth and the
What's no
longest,
trump?
Fourth.
Longest.
Yeah. Do singletons make good leads in no trump?
No.
How about if your partner bid the suit?
Still not, you might want to get to them.
It's still not great. You can't help your partner very much when you have a singleton. We'll get into a better idea later.
From
All right.
shortness?
From shortness against no trump?
Oh, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah. All right. Now here we have the good old fourth best. Why might it be important to lead the fourth best? Anybody have a thought?
Figure out how many bad cards are against you.
Well, yeah, if you're thinking and you remember that you know the rule of 11, then that can go a long way toward helping your partner figure out where some of the cards are located, right? Everybody remembers the rule of 11? Yeah, okay.
Sure.
That sounds a little facetious over here. Shall I review it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. If your partner's lead is a fourth best, subtract the pips on the card, and that if it's a 5, there are 5 pips. Those are the little symbols, suit symbols that are on the card. Subtract the pips from the number 11. The number that's remaining are the number of cards in the other 3 hands that are higher than the card led.
Do that again?
Huh?
Do that again?
All right. Let me find my eraser. Here we are.
You subtracted from 11.
Let's say that a 6 of spades is led.
That's six.
Okay. 11 minus 6 is what?
5.
this spade suit. In your hand, you have how many cards does declarer have that are higher than a 6?
None.
None.
Isn't that
You
fine?
see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If this is a true fourth best lead, all you have to do is cover whatever.
He's sitting there with the ace. Oh,
Huh?
no, maybe he has the ace, right?
Well, yeah, he probably does. In no trump, he'd have to have the ace. He'd have to have the ace. He wouldn't underlead an ace against a suit contract. If he did, you have my permission to jump across the table and
But
strike
you
one.
can under a no trump.
Pardon me?
But you can lead from the ace.
It's
on
under,
no
at no trump, yes. Okay, and it's a rather common lead. All right, so now you know, seeing this, and if you and your partner have agreed to play fourth best leads, then you know the declarer does not have a spade higher than the 6. All you have to do is cover this. If he plays the 4, put the 3 on it so your partner can hold the lead. Then you need to take your high cards, king and queen, and return the 9, and you might take the first 4 or 5 tricks. If partner has 5 of them, he has found the weakness in declarer's hand. The rule of 11, if you get in the habit of using it, can give you a lot of information. Lots and lots of information. So that's why fourth best leads can be important. Now, some people play third, fifth leads. There's absolutely no advantage to third, fifth leads that makes it worth playing them over a fourth best lead. There's a tiny little advantage, but if you have a holding like this, don't tell me to lead the 9 from that. That's a horrible lead. And that's what you would have to lead if you played third, fifth. People who play it say, well, sometimes you have to lie. Well, if I have to lie to my partner, why am I not playing fourth best? You know, then it's not necessary to lie. I lead the 4 and everything's fine. So I don't play third, fifth leads, simply because I don't think it's necessary. The tiny little advantage that you get from doing that, it just isn't worth it to me. You'll find people who disagree. And that doesn't make it a bad thing to use, it's just that I don't particularly care for it.
So if you and your partner have agreed on his fourth best, would you assume then that if they didn't lead, like their partner's suit, that they will go to their fourth best? Because like, I could see the fourth best, confusing, that I could play the 4, or like say the 9, that was my fourth best, which could mean it was my fourth best, or it could be.
Wait a minute. If you played the 9 and it was fourth best, you've got a sequence.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
That doesn't work.
So,
You need a sequence.
if
You
your
do the
partner
top.
leads a card and it's in my suit, then I'm assuming he's going to the top.
Well, if partner has supported your suit, assume that he has 3 when he leads low.
But even if he didn't support it, he leads my suit.
He may have 3 or,
He could have 2 even.
no, if he has 2, he should lead high-low.
Maybe high is 5, right?
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
You have to look around the table.
But if he leads in my own suit, it surely doesn't mean 4.
It may be 4, it may not. You have no way of knowing if he didn't support your
Yeah,
suit.
that's true.
And you can't see the W and you can't see the
Yeah,
declarer's hand.
and if he leaves a high card, he's obviously going with the sequence.
Well,
And so
most of the time,
If
yes.
he leads a low card that is not my suit, my bidded suit, then I'm assuming he's doing fourth from the long. Should I assume that?
Yes, you should. And if he's not leading your suit when you bid it, he has only 2 viable excuses. Number 1, he's void, and number 2, he has died at the table. I mean, seriously. Seriously, those are the only 2 reasons. Because your partner has said, hey, I think this is our longest suit, our best chance. Please lead this. If you want to get and keep a good partner, you want to be a good partner, lead this good. And return his opening leads. Generally, partner likes that too. Okay, what's the next best lead? Anybody have any thoughts? getting down into the little,
Well, I
It's
thought
rather
that
short,
was-
isn't it?
if it's in a suit bid, it was singleton and doubleton.
well, if it's against a suit contract, a singleton might be a good choice. How about if it's a singleton in a suit that your partner bid? That's A number one, that comes right up here, doesn't it? That's a great idea. How about if it's a singleton in a suit that the opponent's bid?
No.
Not so great, is it?
Well, I think didn't take the bid in that suit, like say, they lumped it hard in the spade.
They still might have the A's. Your partner mayor is not as likely to have it as they are. They bid the suit.
Well, let's think of like in terms of setting up for something, if you're doing the suit bid.
Well, partner's got to be able to get in and return the suit to you, right?
Well, even if he doesn't, but the other people, you know, they get a hard bad, I don't know.
Well, we'll move into some more of that in just a minute. Here's a time when it's a terrible idea to leave a singleton. Does anybody know what it might be?
No, or Trump?
No, trumps are not always bad. Well, you don't generally lead a singleton trump. That's true. That will tend to compromise your partner's trump holding too much. So in general, the consensus is don't lead a singleton trump unless you absolutely have no other option. But when you have a natural trump trick, say you've got the queen, jack, 10, and over here in another suit, you've got a singleton. And you think, oh, hey, I can trump. Well, you have a natural trump trick anyway. What's usually going to happen here is if you get your trump, then you're not going to get your trump trick. And in general, it's better to get a trump trick. Partner may have some honors in this suit where he can take a trick. I mean, after all, there are 12 cards out there distributed among the other 3 players. So in that case, partner may have control of the first or second round of the suit. You have a sure trump trick here. Even if you're sitting in front of the ace or the king, with the queen, jack, 10, you've got a sure trump trick. So when you have a natural trump trick, and it's not, say you don't have a 4th one here, if you don't have the 9, you have only enough to take your trick, don't lead a singleton. It's not a very good idea. Find another lead. Maybe a Boston lead. Who knows what a Boston lead is?
Oh, that is
Top of
nothing.
his own.
Yeah, bottom of something, top of nothing.
Bottom of something.
Top of nothing. Sometimes you look at your hand and you think, oh my, I've got the king of trumps, I've got an honor here, and the declarer bid that, and if I underleave my queen, I'm liable to finesse myself. I'm sitting behind him, so if he took a finesse, I could probably take a trick. So maybe that only leads something like this: the 9, the 7, and the 3. If you and your partner like Boston leads, put the 9 on the table. That generally means, partner, I don't care if I get this back or not. It's going to look like a doubleton. No matter whether you play the 7 or the 3 on the next round, it's going to look like a doubleton. Partner may take it and fire one back for you to trump, and it's going to be a little chagrined when he sees you come up with another one. You can think about playing the 7. That's why some people play the 7, then the 9, then the 3. Then partner will never be confused. That's one way to do it. This is a matter of partnership agreement. Doubletons are another matter. Against no trump, a doubleton lead is not great unless it's your partner's suit. But against a suit contract, it might work out, but it's my experience that it doesn't work out very often. Your partner needs to have 2 entries into his hand to give you a rough if you let a doubleton, doesn't he? That doesn't always work out. I mean, I can make plans all day long looking at my hand, and if partner doesn't have 2 entries, as my partners frequently do not, then I'm not ever going to get a roughing trick. So they may work out, they may not. That's why they're down toward the bottom of the list. So what are the worst leads?
Wait a minute, what's fourth and fifth and on there?
Yeah.
Huh?
After all
The
that you
fourth and
said,
fifth.
what's the fourth one? and what's
Oh, the fourth one? Okay, fourth best. Singleton in your partner's suit, well, singleton in an unbid suit, if you don't have a natural trump trick. And then now, a doubleton. Now, if you have an honor doubleton, like the queen four, don't do that. Declarer might take finesse and you might get a trick with that queen. I mean, just because declarers are playing the hand doesn't mean that they know that you have exactly two cards to the and including the queen, does it? If he needs to find the queen, he may take a finesse and you may get a trick with it. If you lead it, you'll never get a trick with it, right? So don't lead an honor double. Find another lead. All right, now let's get, thank you, Nancy. Totally forgot I had to fill that out. What are the worst leads? Yeah, low from an ace against a suit contract. The number one worst lead in bridge. Low from an ace versus a suit. Perfectly acceptable against no trump. Is your ace going to get trumped in a no trump contract? No, that's the definition, isn't it? So you can afford to underlead your ace, and if there's a singleton king on the dummy, so what? So what? You've got the ace. Partner will know that you've got that suit, and when he gets it, he can lead it back. How about the second worst lead in bridge? Who knows that one?
The one I made.
I know that feeling, Joyce. I know that feeling. Yes, 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 I
I
do.
don't know.
Okay, who knows the second worst one?
Partner suit, I mean, opponent suit, I don't know.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. Well, I'm going to get into that probably week after next.
What did you say?
He said, leading the opponent's suit. Leading the opponent's suit rather than our suit.
Not saying Trump, but they may have bid another.
Yeah, if they bid another suit, sure enough. I find that people want to do that a lot against no trump. Well, this is my longest and strongest suit. I've got 5 of them. Well, that guy opened a heart. He's got 5 of them too. Whose are better? Yours that are taught by the 10 or his? You know, let him find out later that he's got a really bad break in his suit. If you tell him by your opening lead immediately, then he makes a whole different plan on how to make this hand. If you don't, he's got to figure out a plan B in a hurry if the suit doesn't break, right?
So that's number 2.
No, suit number 2.
Wait for the king.
Number 2 is unsupported honors. What do I mean by unsupported honors?
No other cards.
I think it's just a single ace or a single.
Right.
queen or-
If it's an ace without the king under it, it's a king without the queen under it. When you lead a sequence, what does your partner know about your lead? If you lead the king, you've got the one under it. It follows then that if you lead a high card without the card under it, is partner going to be thrilled? No. What's the number 1 rule in bridge? Keep your partner happy. So don't do stuff like that. Yeah. And after all, the other people are playing the hand, and that generally means that they have more points. If you put your ace on the table, aces are meant to take kings and queens. If you just put your ace on the table from the get-go, declares king and queen are now all set up. And he gets 2 tricks. He was only entitled to 1. And you've just given him an extra one. So don't lead an unsupported honor. All right, what's third?
Away from the king.
No, believe it or not, that's an aggressive lead, but that's not considered, at one point it was considered a really bad lead, it no longer is.
Would that also apply to Queen 3?
Yep.
Don't do it.
Mhm.
Don't do it.
The next one is this. Leading low from Jack third. Are you ever going to Probably not. Probably not. So that's the third worst one. Here's the fourth worst. Notice the similarity. It takes 3 leads usually to set up that jack. That's why when you have a terrible, terrible hand, maybe you have a 5 or 6 card suit headed by the 9, you think you're ever going to set that suit up? So when you've got a long suit like that, try to hit your partner's suit instead. That's not going to be your partner's suit, is it? If you've got 5 or 6 of them, what are the odds that he's going to have a bunch of them to help you? Not great. Try to hit his suit instead. It's a guess. But remember, I told you, opening leads are a crapshoot. Okay. Let's see. Once upon a time, there were a couple of archaeologists, and they had discovered a tomb. They went down in that tomb, and they saw all kinds of wonderful things when they walked in. They saw gold, they saw statues, they saw jewels, they saw a really, really beautiful sarcophagus. They went over there and they said, let's go look inside. Maybe we can see a mummy somewhere. So they went over, sure enough, they found a mummy in a minute. And they noticed that he was wrapped up very well, and they were really impressed by how well preserved he was. One of them said, you know, I have some cardiopulmonary resuscitation equipment with our stuff. Let's go see what will happen if we do this. The guy says, well, sure, why not? I mean, one bright idea deserves another one, right? So he goes and gets that resuscitation equipment, hook him all up, turn the button on to 3. The other guy pushes it. Everything jumps. Nothing happens. I think we need to turn it up a little bit. So they turn it up to 6. This time the guy hits the button. Mummy jumps again. As soon as he lets go of the button, nothing happens. They said, all right, now we're really going to do it. They turn it all the way up to 11. The guy puts his finger on that button and he holds it there, and holds it there, and holds it there. The mummy starts to shake. Smoke starts to come out of everywhere. All of a sudden, in a minute, the mummy sits bolt upright, and they're astonished.